Hello. This episode today, we're going to be talking all about the major. It's going to be all talk about the matches, the teams. We're going to be power ranking them as you can see by the screen. And then we're going to do a little new segment at the end. So stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Let's jump into it, Brock. How you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty well, Watch a little bit of that COD, major one. Damn good major, I would say, for the
Yeah.
final, stuff like that. So, excited for the podcast and let's get into it.
A lot of fun matches this weekend. Some obviously shocking upsets with OpTic being eliminated early. Miami with a pretty improbable run. I mean, we know we talked about them potentially making a little bit of a run, being in Spain, but I don't think we expected a top three.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy run for them. Maybe Ultra getting eliminated like a little earlier than some people thought. Rocker made a little bit of a deep run. An expected final. I mean, Faze Thieves, not too shocking of a final by any means, but I guess first thing, did you enjoy the earlier start time? I kind of did, especially during the week, like getting up for work anyways, matches on, kind of nice.
hmm
And then like on the weekend, maybe it wasn't as nice because I am a person that kind of likes to stay up late on the weekends. And like for us, the matches are starting at like 7:30 on the weekend. So a bit early, but I actually kind of enjoyed it being done earlier in the day rather than like that awkward time of it starting at 2 and going until like 9 our time kind of sucks sometimes. It's just like if you want to watch all of it, it just takes up your entire afternoon that day into the night.
Yeah. Definitely like the a little bit of change, but, like the earlier starts, could do stuff after the fact, like you said. Usually goes to 9, 10. Sometimes do like 11 if it goes like 5 maps for every series and stuff like that. So something new, something refreshing, and, it's pretty fun.
Obviously, we won't get it probably for a long time because these European events, especially in the CDL era, have become more and more rare. So probably not going to get it for quite some time. But I wish it would maybe motivate like the US events. I guess I don't know if it works better or worse for time zones in terms of international fans, but like I kind of wish on weekends we would just go like noon start time at all times,
Yeah.
just like in general, because I really like the earlier start time, especially like for when we're at events. Like, remember when we're at events in the past and it's like it starts later, and all of a sudden the matches, go till 10 p.m. and it's like after it's harder to do stuff because you're gonna get up earlier the next day, you're gonna go do stuff. But like, especially when we travel for events, like when we go to Vegas, when we go to Dallas. Vegas is a little different because it's a city where you're really meant to stay up late, like
Yeah.
all the casinos and everything. But like when we travel to Dallas, like a lot of things are closing uh as it gets later, 10, 11 p.m, a lot of like the other like stores or places we want to check out might be closing, or like tourist attractions are closing, and like it kind of sucks because like we're traveling for the COD event, but also like we're going to a new city, we want to check out things.
Yeah. hmm
So I kind of like the earlier start time. I hope obviously they're not going to transition it to 7:30 a.m central time in the US because at the end of the day the audience is gamers, and gamers like to stay up late and get up late.
Yep.
So they're obviously never going to change it that much, but I wish they would push it ahead a couple hours start time.
Yeah. I would definitely, not mind that as well.
Yeah, but it was an overall fun tournament. I mean, the finals, one of the best finals we have seen in the CDL era. It was awesome. I mean, game 7, round 11 literally went down to the distance, and like a lot of the maps were super close. Like this was, I mean, sometimes you see series like in sports and esports, like in COD and stuff, like they go the distance like to a game 7. But like for example, like that 3-1 comeback for the Cavs against the Warriors in the finals, like it was an awesome game 7 and like a crazy comeback. But like most of the games were kind of crappy. Like they were
Yeah.
like blowouts in general. But like this series overall, I mean, the hard points were 250 to 237 and 250 to 229. And they came right down to the wire. There's a good comeback on one of them. The search and destroys went 6-4 and 6-5, and the last map went 6-5. There was a 6-1 blowout. It was a really quick speed run on Vault. Um, One of the controls was 3-2 on Hacienda, 3-1 on Protocol for LA Thieves. But overall, really, besides that like super blowout, map 5 it was on the Vault S&D, it was a pretty close series overall. So like fun maps. I mean, obviously, you go down to a round 11 with some crazy plays and everything. That always makes it really exciting.
Yeah. As a fan, what more could you ask for, the round 11
Yeah.
last map for the
Game 7. Yeah.
chip? Yep.
for the chip, round 11, and like crazy round of diffuse comes with multiple people up. But we'll talk about those teams later because obviously, as you can guess, Faze and LAT going to be towards the top of our power rankings. No shock there, but we're going to go kind of from the bottom up. And as we, put the team where they are on the tier list, we're ordering them and then also putting them in tiers. So whoever goes, bottom is 12, 11, 10, up, so on and so forth. And we'll discuss their weekend if maybe we see roster changes. Should they make roster changes in the future? Or like coming up before this next stage here, and just overall talk about the outlook of the team. And when we do this power ranking, it is not just based on the major. Obviously, this is a cumulative power ranking of the entire year. We're going to factor in the
Right.
online stage as well as this tournament. So like for a team like OpTic, they had an extremely good online stage. We really know what they're capable of. They had a little bit of struggles, especially in hardpoint at the major. They're not going to fall all the way to the bottom because, in the end, OpTic probably still are a top three team. And, come next major, they're probably going to get a top three if I had to guess. Not saying they're going to be top three in this power rankings, but they're not going to drop down as much. Where like a team like Boston, who we didn't expect to be as good, we kind of thought they might be on fraud watch, kind of showed
Mhm.
they are frauds, but they may be ahead of some teams because they did have a lot better online split. So we'll explain as we go. But I mean, you guys can see on the screen the first tier, Falcons. They have their own tier, the Falcons tier.
Yep.
Um, I mean, what can we say about this team, Brock? I mean, King and Exnid appears still to be pretty good. There's some talent there. Roxas continues to struggle. To whom had just a rough series overall, though. I feel like he's actually like maybe not been incredible, but he's shown me more than Roxas.
Yeah.
Um, and we obviously know what this team needs. I mean, they need like a lot of work on everything. But when we look at this team, like it's pretty obvious that like when Kix comes back, like they can maybe start building from there. We hope everything's good with him. We talked about it already, but like Kix has been a pretty good player um for them. Like in general, like he's shown a lot. Like he had a 1.19. He's one of the top KDs in the league.
Mhm.
Wixel was also pretty good. King was awesome. Exton's been pretty good. Roxas, to whom King Abadi. We know you love King Abadi, but not that great. But if they can get Kicks back in the mix, this King kid definitely deserves to be in. He has some talent. Exton
Yep.
obviously has some talent. Then you choose between like Wixel, Roxas, to whom I don't know that I had necessarily have a preference. Like numbers wise and KD wise, it's definitely Wixel, but he was playing really slow. I think you give him or Dahum a shot and just roll with them. But obviously, Falcons, there's not much to say. They're not a normal scenario.
Yeah. Like you said, it definitely not a normal scenario. Can't really bash them because how like new this is for them. What they kind of got thrown into in a way. So
Yeah. And I guess I will say the one thing that I can bash them for is I can't bash them for bringing over their players. But now at this point, it's like you haven't won a series. You had a lot of chances. You haven't even won a hard point through however 8, 9 matches, if you include the
yeah.
minor and then the major tournament. Like you haven't won a single hard point. And you have players making noise like, it's not even the 12 best teams there, which I mean that is just like factually true. Like challenger teams would beat this Falcons team right now in a series. Like
Mhm.
a number of them. That like you can't even argue. Usually you can say like, the challenger teams, they may take off a series but it's gonna be pretty rare. There are a number of challenger teams that would beat this Falcons team in a series right now. Like I saw Gunless, kind of airing his grievances with that. And I get it, it is true. I would maybe like to see, and we talked about this, maybe I would like to see Falcons like put their roster into challengers, like their best roster into NA challengers, keep the coaching, keep developing them, and then just like signing an actual like CDL level roster. Although at this point, it's like all the top players are on teams already. So maybe just
Mhm.
stick it out with your roster. I get the players' frustration. I get both sides. I get the players that are in challengers that know that they're better, not getting a chance. I get their frustration, and I also get Falcons wanting to, give their guys a chance since they bought the spot. I get both sides, but yeah, it's just tough. Get Kicks back in whenever he's back and able to play. I think they're based in Dallas when they are playing. Just see if you can keep developing. Like there is some mechanical talent there. Like they don't look completely outmatched shooting with the other teams. It's just, I mean, just a knowledge gap and just like knowingness, like ability to know the game. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, but the more time they have, I mean, they do have Clay though. Helping them
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So that's
And
good.
you can see the talent. Just got to be able to put it together, and it's going to take time. It's their first time playing at this level.
Yep.
All right, Brock, our next team, you want to say it? We're going to put them in D tier. It's your boys.
LAG. Gentle
Before
mates.
we, before we kind of bash them, let's talk about the fans for them this weekend. Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, it was very awesome to see all the fans that showed up for LAG because usually you don't see that from like the past years, and so it's very cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, loud chants on their feet. They were there on Thursday, and LAG wasn't even playing on Thursday, and they were like the loudest fans in the venue.
Yeah,
Um, love, love, love to see it making so much noise. The team kind of seemed like they were maybe about to get a win this weekend. Like
they're
they
on the
looked
brink.
okay. Yeah, they were on the brink of getting a win. It's like been the story of their season. I don't know the exact number, but they've had a lot of 3-2s this season. And
Hmm.
they came out firing. They dominated OpTic on that map one, which became the theme of the weekend. Everybody was dominating OpTic and Hardpoint, or at least beating them. They got Nesloed, which you gave me. First of all, I didn't expect OpTic to be down here playing them. I
Yep.
expected them to be playing Miami, like most people did. But then at the same time, did not expect OpTic to beat them in a Neslo. Uh,
Yeah.
I would have certainly expected LAG to be the team winning in a Neslo, OpTic taking the hard points. But they take 2 hard points on OpTic. Kismet was pretty awesome in the series. Linz was pretty awesome. Priest even played well. Like nobody on their team played like specifically bad. I mean, like the numbers are going to look good because you won 2 hard points. So like your slaying
Hmm.
numbers are always going to look good in a series when you get Neslo because odds are you slayed pretty well in the 2 hard points you won. But like Kismet and Linz, the sub duo look pretty good overall.
Yeah, they look pretty good. Just can't pull out in the end, and get the dub.
A change has got to be made here, though, right? When we're talking going forward, they have to be in the D tier because I mean they don't win a match on land. Granted, they did get a tough draw having to play OpTic in losers round one, and like even though they were so close in so many matches, like you just can't justify like keeping this team together with just so many close losses. Like you have to be able to close out matches. I don't care. Like you know what I mean? I don't care if you're going 3-2, every match. If you can't close it out, a loss is a loss.
Yeah, at some point, you're gonna fall too hard behind and not be able to make the champs push run. So
Yeah,
change probably gonna have to happen here.
yeah, I mean, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 3-2s this year. They have like a couple 3-0 wins over Vegas and Cloud9. Um, man, just tough. So far the sub duo, Kismet and Linz playing decently well overall. ARs have had their moments. It's just tough. A change has to be made. I don't really know who it's going to be. I would assume probably the number one candidate would be Priesta. Just he has been playing better lately, but like I feel like they're going to keep the Kismet Lens duo together, and I feel like just based off like how the players have been over the past few seasons, they're going to default to keeping Skies
Yep.
over Priesta. But a change, they've got to be looking to make changes here, and it could be
Yeah.
multiple changes, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, they've won 2 matches, and one of them is Falcons,
Yeah.
and the other's Cloud9, who has like 1 win on the year.
Yeah. Change is needed.
Change is needed, but they're in the D tier. But shout out to their fans. Their fans were absolutely incredible. And you know what I saw that I loved? I mean, you're a sports person too. You go to basketball games, football games. Did you see the thing about the LAG fans? They brought like trash bags for their section and they like left their section that they were cheering in spotless.
Oh, did they? I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
they were like cleaning up all their bottles, their cans, like their food wrappers, and then they like took a picture of like the floor seating where like all like the fans of random teams were sitting and there was just trash everywhere. And like as a person who goes to like a lot of like Bucks games, NFL games, just like everybody leaves their trash everywhere, and like you don't like a lot of people just like don't think twice about it. At least in America, this happens,
Hmm.
um, and like I don't know, it's just like I like it. It's like their signature thing, like a cool respect thing. Like the LAG or the Gentlemates fans, they just pick up after themselves, leave their section spotless, and I'm sure like stadium staff appreciates it. So that I like that about the what were they calling themselves? The Green Jackets, I think it was like their fan club name.
Yeah, I believe so.
I like it.
Love it.
Oh man. Vancouver Surge. We're gonna put them at 10, Brock. We put together
Vancouver.
our list before this, and then we're just gonna kind of talk about the teams just so we, could skip that like debating part of where we want to put them. Um, but the Surge are at 10, still in the D tier. I think a change has to be made here too. Do you agree?
Yeah, I
and we
agree.
know what it is. We said it before the year.
Yep, Hixie.
It's Ixie. I mean, uh, I don't know how you can justify at this point, like keeping him on the roster. It's like he makes plays to win games at times, but he's at a 0.85 overall in the year. In hard point, he's at a 0.79. He's been pretty good in S&D. He's been arguably, probably not arguably. He probably is their best S&D player on the season. He's at a 1.09. Abuza's really struggling in that mode
Mhm,
at a point 0.7. And in control, Hicksy's at a point 0.9, lowest on the team as well. He's been really good in search and destroy, but like there are plenty of players out there, plenty of submachine guns out there that can be solid for you in search and destroy and be good players, but also contribute a lot more in the respawns. I mean, like this weekend, it was just brutal. And overall, it's been brutal for some time for Hicksy and Hardpoint. He's been really struggling. Uh, I mean, they lose their match to Minnesota 3-1 in losers, but I'm trying to find his exact numbers because I don't want to misspeak on it here. But his exact numbers for their hard points was on Thursday against Ultra. They obviously only got to play one hard point and they played two because they lost in four. So, I mean, against Ultra in the map one, he goes 18 and 32 with the lowest damage in the lobby, a 0.56. Against Rocker in map one, uh, he goes 17 and 17, lowest damage in the lobby. Or well, second lowest damage in the lobby. I guess Escher had a little less, and he does have the most hill time. Soak in there. And then in the
yep,
map four, he goes 19 and 28 for a 0.68. So he drops a couple like point 0.6, point 0.5s, and then a 1.0 in a game that they win, and he just soaks 2 minutes in the hill. We said it before the year, and like then I started to like believe in this team a little bit, and then his slaying just kind of fell off after that first like week or two.
yeah,
I mean, what do you think? It's just in in the old days, you had people like Doug kind of play this role, like Theory, even in World War II for a little bit there,
yeah,
where like they're dropping a 0.75 to a point 0.8, and they're just like doing so much of the dirty work. But at this point, like you have players like a Kismet doing so much of the dirty work while still dropping a 1.0 and like having pop off maps and being good in S&D. Like I don't know that there's as much of a spot for the role players like this. That like if you're going to consistently drop a point 0.7 in hardpoint, like there are probably players that can at least drop a point 0.9 consistently and do the same dirty work that you're doing.
yeah. It just doesn't work unless you're on more of the top team with high with superstars.
Yeah, and like it's granted, it worked on Ultra, like, he won his first event there, but, like you mentioned, there's some pretty high-end slaying on that team. I mean, Scrap, arguably, like, the highest of end slayers
Yeah,
in the
and
league, and
Kleenex as well.
Kleenex is up there. I mean, Insight's not really, like, a heavy slaying AR, but, like, he gets his kills. He guarantees his kills,
Yeah,
and, they found a way to make it work, and also, it was a slower game they were playing. I mean, they were playing MW2.
yeah, that game was pretty slow.
The game was slower in comparison to, like, a super, cracked out BO6 that we're playing now.
hmm
I This team's got to make a change.
Man, this team would just be so much better if they kept hooked.
Yeah, if they kept Hook with 0-4, the aggression of those subs, with how good the sub is in this game, Abuza, I think, would be playing better. Um, I think Nasty has been fine. Like nobody on this team, Abuza has been disappointing overall. I mean, he's at a 0.94 on the year. He's been
Yeah.
disappointing. 0-4 has probably been their best player. Nasty's been decent overall. Abuza has been a big disappointment this year so far. And I think it is partially due to their team. I mean, this is a team that, I mean, if he's available, I guess they should be going after Pred. Um,
Yes.
if he's coming back after this major, that's basically any team that needs a sub should just be going after Pred, regardless of how the fit is. He's just a superstar. You just get him and figure it out later. This team should be going after Pred. I can't imagine that this is where Pred signs because I'm sure he's going to have a few choices if he is coming back. Um,
hmm
or you know what? If Pred comes back to OpTic for Hook for some reason, then just beg Hook to come back to you since he has experience playing with the Booza on 0-4.
Yeah.
But I think they have to make a change for Hixie.
Agreed. For who,
Next,
not really
yeah,
too sure at the moment, but I mean, sure, we'll see within the week
we'll
too.
see. Top subs and challengers. I mean, anything that can get you a little more slaying because we're seeing like this team is just getting outslayed, and like I think the lack of kills that Hicksy's getting on the front line is starting to, it's affecting Abuza's ability to play. He's maybe having to overcompensate for those kills, and it's maybe affecting Nasty as well. Like 0-4 is being
Yeah.
left dry in some situations. Like I think changes needs to happen, and it's unfortunate because like we've said, like Hixie, I think, can be a successful player. I mean, we've seen it. Not I think he can be. He can be. I mean, he made it
Yeah.
to a champs grand final and he won an event in the same year. I just think, like we said, he just needs to be on a team with more established slaying, and this team just doesn't have it. This team just isn't a great fit for Hixie.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Which is unfortunate, but that's just how it falls sometimes.
yeah, because it sounds like we're bashing him. I don't want to completely bash him. It's not like he's not a capable player. You don't make it to a champs final and win an event in the same year, win your first pro event. Um, by being a bad player. Like Hixie can be in the right situation, but he needs to be with like a scrap and a Kleenex, like where they can just pick up all that slang and they're never going to drop off. Where like, I think 04 and Abuza can pick up slang, but not at the level of a Kleenex and a scrap.
Yeah. Agreed.
Our ninth team, Brock, moving them up to the C tier. It's Cloud9.
C9.
They got a win on the board this weekend.
They did.
It was against Boston, which, by the way, that was funny. We were getting roasted, both of us, in the comments last week. We were told we put no thought into our bracket. We were, told that we put no thought into our bracket by having um, the Boston Breach losing to the Minnesota Rocker in losers round 2 and getting top 8. Turns out that guy might have been right, Brock. We should have had Boston losing earlier.
We should have.
Should have had him losing earlier. He was saying, especially not to Rocker, like they're not gonna lose to Rocker. And I was just having fun with that dude. I was trolling him a little bit because he was like telling us we were, putting no thought, clueless, whatever. And Rocker ended up making it all the way to top 6, potentially had a chance to make it to top 4, lost to game 5 to Heretics. Um, but we've got Cloud9 here. They take out Breach in a game 5, and they lose a 3-1 to Rocker. A change probably going to be made here as well.
Yeah.
This seems like the prime team to me. We said it before. It seems like the prime team to get Pred, and Kremp is probably going to get screwed over because overall this season the ARs have been the worst players
Yep.
uh, on the side of
Overall, Crimps had the best KD on the season.
yeah. They the ARs have probably been the worst players in their team. I mean, Sib definitely did step it up this weekend, and the ARs did a little bit more
Yep.
this weekend. But Kremps, yeah, he's got the best KD overall in the year on the team, and he has been pretty consistent. Max probably been their best player over the course of the entire season, but Kremp has been right there and been
Yep.
good. And he probably seems like the easy candidate to get dropped for Pred if they do pick him up because, obviously, like we said, the Max Sib connection. And then, they're not going to drop attached for Pred because that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense role wise, I would assume.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate for Kremp. That's how it is sometimes. Just literally like Sib, Attach, Lamar, Coach, Mac, player like basically everyone.
Yeah. And like when we look at their weekend this weekend, I'm trying to pull up the individual stats because I want to make sure I get it right. But I mean, like, we did see like Sib was stepping up in some maps, and he ended up having one of like the better KDs on the weekend. He was
Mhm.
fifth with a 1.12. Like he looked a lot better. He had kind of a bad last map when they got eliminated,
Yeah.
but I mean, overall on the weekend, Sib was solid. Like he had a 1.12, Kremp with a 1.03, Attached with a 0.96, Mac with a 0.93. Um, I guess maybe they stick because they saw a little more, but they could be making a change. I feel like you got to try to bring in Pred if you can. Sib finally showed, um, looked like his normal self. See if he can continue that. Attach. I guess for this team, just because I like the talent level, I guess if you can bring in Pred, you do it because at the end of the day, Pred is an upgrade over Kremp,
Yep.
and I'm assuming they're not going to drop Mac, not going to drop one of the ARs for a sub player like Pred. So bring him in if you can, but I wouldn't mind just a one person change for him or this team sticking out for just a little bit because I still think this team can work because like Sib and Attach finally played at least closer to the level that they should be at. And I want to see this team when those guys are at this level for longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like if I was this team, I wouldn't change it. Like you said, let's say Pred goes back to OpTic. Here I would stick. I would stick with this team then.
Unless there's like a really, really good AR player they think they can replace Attach with, but it's a big risk because Attach is a veteran on your team.
Yeah.
Like Yeah, I think I'm sticking, and that sounds weird because they struggled online. They only won one match on land, so it's easy to just be like, what do you? Why would you have this team stick but not Surge? They got the winners bracket. Um, it's a different talent level. Like Mac and Kremp have been pretty good this year. Attach is Attach. Like it's different compared to a Hixie. Like Attach has a lot more pedigree and has been very good. Pretty much his entire career at every game. And Sib, obviously, like he's been really, really struggling. We noted it in the last few podcasts. Like Sib has been really struggling, but he stepped up this weekend, and he's a player that has like a ceiling that's higher than a lot of players. Like Sib can be a top player in the game, and you don't just drop a player like that after one bad stage, especially this weekend when he showed he can be that top player. Like he still has it in him. I think we all knew he had it in him. He just had to find it. Um, but overall, nice to see them win a match against a Boston team that was hot coming into the tournament.
Hmm.
Like I said, don't want to see a change unless it's for Pred, because even though Kremp is playing well right now, when you can get Pred, you get Pred.
Yeah. Like I said, it's only a matter of time until Sib and Attach become to their normal self for the most part.
Yeah, agreed. Joining them in the C tier and the 8th spot, Brock. A fall from definitely where they would have been before the tournament. It's Boston Breach.
Yep.
I
Boston.
mean, they
Tough first
got
half.
they got demolished in that first series against Faze. That was like, I was watching that and I was like, I expected them to get 3 0'd. They got speed. I mean, Purge couldn't get a kill. Snoopy was like fighting for his life, but had no support. Um, in the map 2, they kept it close. They lose. They get up 2-1, lose 3 straight. They ended up forcing it to, a 5-4, and they lost. And then in the control, they got 3-0 speed ran. I mean, there was a round there where I think like Face had like 24 lives and killed them. Like they won on kills.
Yeah, they're getting spawn traps on
Yeah, they were
protocol.
just Selling was like 16-1 at one point. They were getting just absolutely speed ran, and then they lost to a Cloud9 team who we just noted like hadn't won basically like any series on the year, and then they ended up losing to them. Purge kind of got fried again.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like we kind of talked about, could this Boston team be a fluke? We mentioned like I thought they might be a fluke from their online performance, but they did beat some really good teams online, which is why they stay ahead of the teams that they're ahead of here in our power rankings. Because like the 5-2 split, beating some good teams has to count for something.
Yeah.
Um, Considering they beat LAT and OpTic, like some of our top teams, and 5-2 record overall is nothing to just like bat your eyes at. But I'm making a change if I'm them. I'm sorry. I'm making a change.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
I don't know that like Purge played okay. I don't know that like maybe you give him a little more time because he was decent in the online. Like he had a 0.94. He's 0.94 on the year with the major included, and he was like a little better online.
Hmm.
But I don't know. It was so bad at the major, just so bad. Like Snoopy looks to be really improved. I mean, I forget what hardpoint. I think it was the map 4 against, yeah, the Skyline map 4 against Cloud9. Snoopy was making plays. Like his numbers show that he had a good map at 31 and 23, but he was making plays. He had so many crucial kills in that hardpoint that influenced the spawns and like helped them secure like an extra 20 here, an extra 20 in this hill, like the first 20 on a certain hill. Like he was making so many crucial kills. Snoopy really impressed me this weekend. But other than that, yikes.
Yeah, Cammy struggled a lot this weekend.
Yeah, Wake was, pretty solid. Nobody in the first series was good for them. Snoopy was the closest thing to good. Obviously, they got dominated. In that second series, it was bad from Cammy. 1-9 in the map 5. Um, it was rough from Cammy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably make a change if they are, if Boston is gonna end up making a change, or are they gonna stick it out with this roster for saving money aspects?
Yeah, it might be that. You might be right. I kind of forgot about that. They might be sticking out with this roster. But if let's say that's not an issue, are you making a one-person change, a two-person change? I think what you saw
Mm,
this weekend, I don't think this team can compete with top teams when it comes to land. I just don't think they can. I don't think they have the slaying to keep up with teams. I think a change needs to be made.
yeah.
I think you have to get rid of one of your ARs. I think like maybe you truly think Cammy is the better AR than Awakening, and you decide to keep him over Awakening. Awakening was certainly better in the series that we can actually really look at. and pull something from. In that Cloud9 series, Awakening certainly was the better player. Cammy, I mean, just dropped an absolute donut basically. 1 in 9 in map 5. He died every round, got 1 kill. And I mean, 700 damage, only a little bit more than Snoopy, or a little bit less than Snoopy, but um, I don't know. I think I'm dropping Cammy, and I'm looking to potentially drop Purge.
Yeah.
First, I think you have to drop one of the ARs. You got to choose one and pick one to drop. And I'd be okay if he kept Purge for a little bit because like he does bring a lot to the team. I know, and we saw them continue to struggle and get worse last year in terms of the Legion when they dropped Purge.
Hmm. I think for sure. I think we drop Cammy because it's just the same old from Cammy. He'll do good sometimes here and there, but he's just not what he once was, and we can't
No,
keep thinking he's gonna be that.
yeah, I think we make a move for him for sure, and I think you maybe make a move for Purge because Snoopy is a budding star now at this point. He seems like he's starting to figure out a little bit more of the actual gameplay aspect. He's always been able to move and shoot his gun. We knew that about Snoopy.
Hmm.
Always been talented in that aspect. It's just been more of like the in-game decision making that's been more of the struggle for Snoopy, and he looks to be starting to figure it out and developing as a player. Um, I think you got to make a change. It's got to be Cammy and potentially Purge. Like
Yep.
maybe you give Purge a few more matches to see if he can, pick up his slaying again and get back to that. But it was rough. I just watching this team, I just don't think there's any chance. Like Cloud9, there's very little chance they can beat a top team. But because Sib and Attach like showed a little fight, if Sib and Attach got back to that elite level that we know they can play at, Mac's already been pretty good. Kremp's already been pretty good. If they bring in a Pred, that team can compete. Like they
Yep.
are a Pred away, or like Sib and Attach playing to their level of being a team that can compete for top sixes. Boston, I mean, if they run into any of the teams, the top teams with that slaying ability, I just can't see it.
Yeah. They peaked definitely this stage and made qualifiers a major.
Yeah. Yeah. Our next team is the Minnesota Rocker. I think, we're going to keep them on the C tier with Boston. I could definitely see putting them in B tier.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I like this team, but
I like this team as well. We liked this team all year, and they started 2-0, and then they were on a big losing streak. And they get a top 6. They really had a chance to potentially make it into that top 4 and beat Miami, but they lose in a game 5. It goes all the way to the distance, goes all the way to a round 11, and they lose it. And that round 11 was not just any round 11, Brock. It was a full sale. It was a chance at a full sale. They were down 5-0. They rattled
Man,
off 5 straight. What would have it would have been a crazy moment. Gets
that
them
would
to
have been.
Sunday on a full sale. Um, but they lose. Paul gets a little bit over aggressive in that round. He was in a tough situation anyways. Um, and the Rocker, we're putting them in our 7 spot. A pretty good weekend from them overall, starting in losers, getting all the way to a top 6, winning a couple matches. Uh, it continues to be the same narrative for this team for me. Estriel and Nero are an awesome sub duo. The ceiling for them, they can have some maps where it's a struggle, but their ceiling is just it's awesome.
Yeah, they're saying like they could definitely slay with the top subs.
Yes, I mean, and Geo was he the number one KD? He was out there. He had a 1.23
Yeah,
uh
yeah,
on the weekend. Was he the number one overall KD? He was close.
he
Yeah, he was
he
number one.
was. Yep.
Just ahead of
Scrap.
Scrap. He was, I mean, granted, less matches for Geo, obviously, in comparison to like Scrap and Envoy, who are the next guys up. Lynn's number 4, but yeah,
Sample
I mean,
size.
sample size, yeah, again, same thing, like you said. Geo, though, on the weekend, awesome. Nero was awesome, had some pop off moments. Estrio, pretty good. Paul was improved
Yeah, Paul
from where
did
he
do
was
better.
online. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Online in the year, he's at a 0.86 overall, or I guess 0.86 overall in the year. That includes the major, but at the major, specifically, he had a 0.94. And just eye test wise, Paul was, a little bit more involved. He still did have some maps where he was struggling, still not to the level they need him to play at, but he was certainly better.
Hmm.
This is what I'll say about this team. I'm certainly keeping Geo, Nero, and Estriel.
Yep.
I think you can certainly look to make a move off Paul. I wouldn't mind if this team made a move off Paul. Like maybe if there's an AR in challengers that you think is really, really good as a main AR and can help you win games and can just bring a little bit more consistent slaying to the table, I think you pick him up over Paul.
Yep.
But I also
Agree.
don't hate giving this team a little more time because Paul looked a little improved. Maybe you can continue that momentum because he did get a top 6 and you were a round away from making it to Sunday
Hmm.
and securing a
Yeah.
top 4. So I don't hate making a move from Paul because you never want to stay complacent even if you have a decent finish. If you can get better, get better.
Hmm.
So I'm on the fence for this one. I'm not upset if they make a change for Paul, but I'm also not upset if they keep him because they did show signs of improvement and Paul did improve this weekend
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the season.
It seems like he more grew on land than online,
Yeah.
and that's what you want to see in a player.
Yeah, and I just don't know that his ceiling's super high. So if there is an AR out there that you do believe can be better than Paul, like I said, make the move. Because the other trio on this team, man, they can be really, really, really good. Like Astrio and Nero are a legit duo, and Geo is so talented. Like, if you
Lame.
think there's a main AR out there that can make this team better, you go ahead and do it.
I'm trying to think of like who's in challenges that could just replace.
I know I'm just not as versed on like the current challengers like pool and like how people have been
Yeah.
playing. Like I know like Illey's out there and he is a good name, but I've seen a lot of people saying like Illey isn't necessarily playing as well right now. So it's like I don't want to be like disingenuous and like suggest players because like I don't have my eye on challengers as much. I don't know. I never have had like as much of an eye on challengers. Like I pay attention to like who wins and stuff, but I don't necessarily know the best AR players. So I don't want to just be like, oh, throw this name out there because like a name that's out there, like a Gunless. I know Gunless has always been really good, but he
Yeah.
struggled his last few times in the CDL, and I have no idea how he's playing. So I'm not going to throw his name out there. Same with like an Illey. I know Illey is a world champion and has been a very good player. He was really good last year, even.
Yeah.
But I've heard he's not playing as well. I'm not 100% sure.
Or even like in Arcitys, but like last time we saw Arcitys, it was not good.
No, it was. But like I said, on the fence, if you're going to make a change, it's Paul. The other three are safe because the other three are like building block players. Like I think the other three can propel this team to Sundays.
Yep.
Potentially. That's why you and I said, like, we said it last week and we were called crazy for picking them to go to the top 6, which is exactly what the Rocker did. Um but that trio, we said Estriel and Nero can win you matches on land. They can take over. Geo can take over. And we literally said, like, I think I said this exactly. Like, if Paul just elevates his level of play to slightly below average instead of really bad, this team can make a run, and that's literally exactly what happened. Gio,
There-
Esh, Nero stepped up, were able to just carry this team through series on land, and Paul X stepped up just a little bit to be at least like a little more towards average, and the team, made a little bit of a run to a top 6. That's like exactly what I said could happen, and it happened.
Yeah. Just barely, lost to Miami for that Sunday spot.
Yeah. And speaking of Miami, Brock, that's the team that we're putting in 6, and we're moving them up to the B tier. I
Yep.
know. Don't get your
Vamos.
pitchforks out. Don't get your pitchforks out. I know this could be considered a little low for Miami, and I don't have a problem if you have Miami higher than 6. I know they finished top 3, and, like, obviously, we're gonna have some teams that finished, worse than them on the weekend ahead of them. You can see that obviously because, I mean, Carolina, Toronto, and OpTic all finished worse than them. But like we said, we are taking account the rest of the season. Miami did struggle overall online. I mean, they beat Vegas, Cloud9 online. Those are their only wins. Like, 2 of the bottom teams in the entire league. They lost a lot of 3-2s. I mean, they lost to Breach, Toronto, Vancouver, all in a 3-2 fashion. LAT. So like they've been competitive. They lost to Carolina in a 3-2 as well. A lot of game 5 losses for them, and they impressed me. Admittedly, we could have them too low. Would you
Good.
agree? I wouldn't be upset if you put them at like a 5 or a 4.
Yeah. At this
Even a
moment,
3, I
from what I
guess,
saw.
if they finish top 3, but I don't think you can put them like into the top 3 just because of their online.
Yeah, I would
But
agree.
they were good. I mean, Real and Rencor. Also, how about that awesome moment of Rencor getting a little emotional on stage, like
Hmm.
talking about how it was his dream and like crazy that he made it. Like those are like the awesome moments you love to see. Like
Love that.
probably, and I mean, a dude that like from Spain, probably didn't know what his chances of making the pro league ever were because like it's not common for players. I mean, like there are more and more EU players making it to the league, like over the past however many years, especially in the CDL era, but they're mostly from like the United Kingdom, France, like they're not really a lot from Spain. I mean, like Heretics is the only team. Like they were in BO4 and then not in until last year. So like there hasn't been a huge presence of Spanish players. Like it's been mostly North America, Canada, and the United States primarily, and then like UK, France, and like couple other like countries in Europe, but like for the most part, not many Spanish players. So like, who knew like if he was ever going to fulfill his dream and make it to league? Heretics gets a spot, he gets a chance. He plays awesome, and like you love to see those
Hmm.
moments of the dreams paying off for somebody.
Yep. Love that.
But I mean, what else can we say for the Heretics on the weekend? I mean,
They had a good weekend.
better than you could ever hope for. They beat OpTic
Yep.
in the first round, which already their weekend could almost be considered a W. Just off that, they guarantee themselves a top six. They take out OpTic, who was the number one seed on the weekend. Definitely did not expect OpTic to lose that. It's interesting if you look at their numbers. Real was the only one with a positive KD on the weekend, and that probably is mostly due to them kind of getting they kind of got smoked um, by Thieves twice, and that probably really hurt their numbers.
Yeah.
But Metal's at a .85 on the weekend, but I thought he had some good moments over the course of the weekend. Real and
Yep.
Rencor are really the stud duo.
Yeah.
Um,
Those are people. Those are guys are looking good.
yeah, I mean, not much else you can say about Miami. Just what an awesome weekend for them to be in their home country and perform like that. Uh, just an awesome weekend. A top three is better than you could have ever hoped for. They certainly overachieved. We have them at 6 in the B tier, but I could certainly see moving them up. Just being a little skeptical because I do think it was kind of a crazy run. Like I don't know if it's going to be repeatable for them.
Yeah.
Not saying it feels like LAG Vanguard where they're just going to completely suck after this. I don't think that's the case. I think they're still going to be good, but I do think they're more of like a middle of the pack team still. I think this was an outlier in terms of their performances.
Yep. Agreed. And I will say in the medals, he's a very funny player. He's so inconsistent. What he dropped 15 on the was a Hacienda Surge, and then the next map he dropped like he's like triple negative.
Yeah, he's kind of been a little bit of a streaky player at times for sure.
And I thought Lucky played pretty well this tournament.
Yeah, he definitely had his moments. But yeah, like you said, the story is Real and Rencor. I mean, they've been awesome for most of the year. Real and like he has a lot of talent. Like this is a duo that can kind of carry this team into the next era of Spanish COD. And they got Super on the bench. He's coming to NA Challengers. I saw,
Yep.
and he is an AR player, I believe. So if Lucky or Metals, maybe struggle, like they were struggling a bit going into this major, and they didn't play like amazing by any means. It was certainly more Real and Rencor
Hmm.
leading this team. So who knows? If they do end up struggling a little bit, I wouldn't hate bringing Super on, but obviously after a top three, you can't be thinking like that. You got to see if you can build off this.
Yep.
Because you beat some, I mean, you beat a Minnesota team that was pretty hot. You beat a good, regardless of how they look this weekend, beating OpTic is impressive. They came into the tournament 6-1.
Yep.
And they beat a Carolina team that was on a roll. Like they had some very good wins. Granted, they lost 6-0 map count to LA Thieves, but they beat some really good teams. I mean, Rocker, Carolina, OpTic are all quality opponents.
Yeah. I definitely thought going to that Sunday Carolina would kind of handle Miami, but that was definitely not the case.
I agree. I thought Carolina was going to take them out, which makes it controversial why we have Carolina ahead of them. I fully get it. Like I said, if you have Miami ahead of Carolina, I'm okay. You're just weighing the tournament maybe a little bit more because Carolina was awesome online and then awesome on land, which is maybe why you have them ahead. But Carolina's not next. We're gonna have a little fun with it. We're gonna throw OpTic up in the A tier, and we're gonna put them. Or sorry, not OpTic. I'm wrong. I skipped over Ultra. Uh-huh.
Toronto Ultra.
We're gonna put Toronto up in the A tier. I realize that this could also be controversial. Like it's subjective. If you have Toronto in the B tier, I'm good with that. Like I think you would agree, Brock.
Yep.
Good with Toronto in the B tier. They had a disappointing. I would say Toronto's weekend was disappointing. For them, like a top six, it's not terrible. You beat Surge 3-0, you lost 3-0 to Faze. The 3-0 to Faze a little closer, than a 3-0 sounds. That was a competitive match. I'm
Hmm.
trying to find the map set here because it was a 237 to 236. That was that crazy hard point where Abizi
Yeah.
jumps out. Toronto probably makes a mistake by hopping out of the hill. I don't know. Tough to say. Um,
I feel like yeah. I think you just go for the 250 win.
yeah, but then all of a sudden, if they win, it's like they make the right play. But leaving the hill white, I think allowed somebody to spawn behind them, and just kind of a mess.
Yep.
And then from there, it kind of unravels. They had a lead in the search and destroy. They go up 2-0 in the search, and I was like, okay, they're gonna bounce back here. FaZe rattles off 5 straight and wins 6-3. And then the Hacienda control. Kind of a struggle there. But really, the hard point was the moment where it was like, if they win that, who knows? Maybe things do go differently. I doubt it because Faze was just unbelievable this weekend. But Toronto was competitive in that. I'm sure they wanted uh, their top four finish, but they fall to a hot Carolina team in a 3-2 where Tej was just icing everything in the
Yeah.
map 5.
Didn't
But
he have 2
he like 2
round
or
11?
3 1v1s in a row or 1v2s.
Yeah, he was just teacher's going crazy.
Yeah, he was incredible on the weekend. We'll talk about him when we get to the Ravens. But Ultra, their online split was awesome. I mean, they had potential to be the 1 seed going into the last match of the online qualifiers, and they showed to me that they're still a really good team. Like, they dominate Surge. They have a close hardpoint against FaZe, and then just kind of lose the next 2 maps. And then they lose a close one to the Ravens. Like, I know they only beat Surge, but not enough for me to like drop them super far in the standings. I think having them at 4 is fair. They've been very good this year. Like, I still think they're probably a top 4 team. At worst, they're like 5th in my mind.
Yep, I have
Um,
to agree.
Now I can put them up there. We're gonna go OpTic in 4 ahead of Toronto. Some people may think this is far too high. Some people may think this is far too low. I think I saw our boy Jake Maverick. I think he had them at 6. For me, I think that's a bit low, but I can understand it. I think OpTic has to be somewhere from 4 through 6, probably. You got to put like Miami, Toronto, or Carolina probably ahead of them in the 3 just because of how they looked this weekend.
Mhm.
To me, I think this might have just been a weird anomaly weekend for them. Because I mean, like, with the way the weekend went, like if I would have told you going into the weekend that Huke was gonna drop the numbers he did, like you probably would have thought OpTic had a really good weekend, like at least a top 3, right?
Yeah.
It's like Huke was
Mm,
pretty much their best player on the weekend. And I think like once again, if you'd have told me that Huke's their best player in the weekend, I guess I would have thought it would have went the way it did because I'm like, that's scary because Huke shouldn't be your best player when
I
you
would
have
have thought they
shottzyy,
would have
Dashy.
won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, Huke was a 1.08, the only one positive on the weekend. Kenny, I mean, where Kenny stands, he struggled this weekend. He was not very good.
yep,
But shottzyy and Dashy also were not very good this weekend. None of those 3 players played up to their standards. Huke was the only one that met his standards.
yep.
Um,
Mhm.
we're still keeping them in the 4 spot because like their online was incredible and their control and their hard point weren't terrible this weekend. Or it's not, sorry, not their hard point. Their control and their search weren't terrible this weekend. It was hard point where they really struggled. And to me, I think that's something that's very fixable for OpTic. Like I think hardpoint is very fixable for them. I'd be much more concerned if they were dominating hardpoint and losing all their searches and controls.
Yeah.
I mean, they Nesloed LAG. They lose 3-1 to Ravens, losing both hard or they won the first hardpoint, sorry, against Ravens, 250 to 248. Then they lost the second one. Uh, and then in their elimination match, um, or in the Carolina match, sorry, they lost one hard point. They lost, was it? They lost both hard points to Miami, right? Yeah, they lost both hard points to Miami. They won maps 2 and 3 there. So yeah, they were um what 1-4 on the weekend in hardpoint.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, people were just talking crazy like drop Kenny. I hope they do it. I
Don't do it, never it's not gonna turn out well.
know. I hope they do it just so OpTic fans can just be proven wrong yet again. Like
Yep.
Kenny is a really good player. Did he have a good weekend? No. Like I'm the biggest Kenny fan. You're a huge Kenny fan. Like nobody's saying he had a good weekend. Like people don't understand that like players have bad weekends. Like what was it in Black Ops 4 in like stage 2 playoffs in Miami or whatever when OpTic got like 6-0 map counted out of the tournament? Like everybody in the team played horrible. Like should Scump have been dropped? Should Dashy have been dropped? Karma? Like were you going to drop those guys because they had a bad weekend?
Yeah.
You know, like let's not kid ourselves. Like this OpTic team was incredible last year. They won an event and they won champs. Kenny was awesome. shottzyy was awesome. Dashy was awesome. Pred was awesome. Like obviously, ideally, they would have the same roster. We know everything went down with Pred, but like Kenny didn't have a good weekend. Dashy also had a very bad weekend for his standards. shottzyy also had a pretty horrible weekend for his standards. Huke was the only one that played up to his standards.
Yeah. Like I said, weird thing. Not too worried about this team. I'm
No,
sure
you're
they'll fix it, and if they do end up somehow dropping Kenny, that's like the biggest mistake they could do.
yeah, I don't even know who they would pick up that could even rival that. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe they like go back. The weird thing is like it's kind of the same situation with Kremp, but even more in this case because Huke has been better than Kremp. Like I don't hate this team just going and being like, if Pred can come back, I don't know what the situation is. Maybe there's no chance Pred comes back. They basically said he wasn't, so I doubt he is. But like, I still would pick up Pred in favor of Huke. Huke has been incredible this year. He has been awesome. He deserves to be on the team. But at the end of the day, you want to run it back with your World Championship squad.
Yeah.
So like, if they can get Pred back, if whatever issue it is solved, if it's no issue with the team, like I would love to see Pred back on this team because at the end of the day, people might be like, "Oh my god, that's faded. Huke is so good." At the end of the day, this team won champs last year. We got to see him play like 2 matches this year, and Pred was pretty good in those matches. He had like a 1.17 or something. Like at the end of the day, I would love to see Pred back on this team. I want to see the World Championship team get a chance to run it back. I think Pred fits really well next to shottzyy. I think like they had a really good dynamic. I think they were really developing as a duo. I think the team played well together. Obviously, they did. They won champs.
Yep.
Um, but Dashy, shottzyy, and Kenny were all pretty terrible compared to their standards this weekend. Everybody chill, breathe. I know all the OpTic fans want instant results and they want them to win. Top 8 is disappointing, but breathe. People are saying Kenny's F tier right now. Okay, if you truly believe, I was arguing with a guy on Twitter, and shout out to him. He's always showing support. He's a guy that we talk to all the time. But I was arguing with somebody on Twitter, like, really, if Kenny's F tier, then drop him. Like, if he's truly F tier, why would you hold on to him?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's like if he was actually an F tier player, then they should drop him. I strongly believe that because why would you? If you're OpTic Texas, you are one of the premier team in the league. Why would you hold on to an F tier player? That
Yeah.
makes no sense. Like if for anybody that was saying that, like if Kenny is truly F tier, drop him then. You should not hold on to an F tier player. So people are just saying things because they're upset and they want to say it. Nobody actually thinks Kenny's an F tier player, and if you do, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like this is a simple fact. If he actually is that, drop him because there's no reason to employ an F tier player in your team. But we can also be honest with ourselves and say shottzyy sucked this weekend compared to his standards.
Yep.
Dashy sucked this weekend compared to his standards. Like those guys will figure it out. Dashy and shottzyy are incredible players. Up to this event, they were like arguably the best AR and sub in the game. Kenny has been struggling this year compared to his standards, but also Kenny, like overall, tends to struggle a little bit early in years. Like somebody's argument they use on Twitter to me was Kenny sucked really bad. Like this was his worst stage since stage 2 in Vanguard. My reply was, what happened at the end of Vanguard?
Yeah.
Like, yes, Kenny had a terrible stage 2 in Vanguard. What a terrible argument to use. Because guess what happened at the end of Vanguard? He won champs. He went back to back.
And he won MVP.
Yeah, like what are we talking about?
Yeah. It's like optics. Like if you don't get it first, if you get anything but first, it's like a failure with the
It
fans.
makes no sense. Like, what are we talking about? His worst stage since stage 2 Vanguard. So you're proving that when he has a terrible stage, he can bounce back, and not only bounce back, but he'll win 2 events in champs after having that worst stage in the same year.
Yeah.
Like, what a joke. Let's move on to Carolina. We got them in A. We got them in 3. Once again, these 4 teams we just put on there down to Miami. Order them in kind of whatever order you want. I won't really argue with you, but Carolina, they looked really good online overall in the first split, and they make a run to top 4 on land. They made it to a Sunday. We're kind of going longer than I want to. I want to get to these top teams, so I just gotta say, Vivid, shout out to him for fighting through the whole eye issue. Like
Yep.
they got dominated. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They got destroyed by Thieves. And then they beat Falcons, they beat OpTic, they beat Toronto. So on their path, they beat some really good teams. OpTic and Toronto, regardless of how OpTic look, they're still a good team. And
Mhm.
Toronto's a very good team. They beat great teams on their path. Slasher was great. Gwyn was actually like not as good as I thought he would be, which is a reason that I'm also high in this Carolina team. Like I think Gwyn has some more potential he can tap into.
Yep.
Like on the weekend,
Maybe
he
a
was a
little bit better.
1.03, which he was the best KD on the team. But if you watched, you know what I mean. Um, a 0.93 in hard point for Gwyn. Like
That's not. Yeah.
I expect that to get a lot better. Like Gwyn has a ceiling he can reach that's higher than what he showed this weekend. Granted, like I said, he wasn't bad, but
Hmm.
like there's another level Gwyn can hit. For me, I mean, the player to talk about this weekend was Tej. He was so good. This was the best event I've seen from Tej in like maybe in the CDL era. He was awesome this weekend.
Yeah. He just put numbers, clutching, going to back to what it was in the World War II days.
Yeah, awesome in S&D, great in respawn, like pretty consistently awesome in hardpoint. Apart from that first series where everybody in the team really struggled, like what a weekend from Ravens. We're hyped. You and I are both Ravens fans. We love this team. We got
Yep.
Vivid from Wisconsin, our boy. We love Tej. We love Slasher. I love Gwyn, one of the best. I mean, Gwyn is probably on a collision course to be on a top team next year. I strongly feel that. And Tej, it's like a career revival in
Yep.
late into his career because he was like it was incredible. It's like Tej has always had this potential, but there's always been the whole Tej doesn't care thing. He's always had this ability in him. It's just he needed to tap into it, and just I love to see it because I love Tej, and he was awesome this weekend.
He was incredible, and excited to see how Carolina keeps going with this.
Yeah. And then Brock, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious where we're going. Uh
I would think so, right?
for the next two, Thieves up in the S tier in second, Faze up in the S tier in first in the standings. Don't know how you could have it any other way than those two as the top two and in that specific order. I mean, if you're maybe arguing that Thieves shouldn't be S tier, come on. They went game 7, round 11. Like literally round
The
11, if it
wire.
goes the other way, Thieves are the champions, they're one. They both got to be S tier next to each other. Phase one, so they're in one. I mean, start off with Faze. Celium continued to be incredible. Like, what can we say? They won the event. How can we be negative about them? Like, they looked awesome. They got everything back. Like, I remember earlier in the year we had like kept them in like fourth or fifth in the standings, even when they were struggling, or like sixth in B tier, and we were like called crazy because
Yep.
we had Faze like towards the top, and it was like, dude, at any moment they can bounce back, and I wouldn't be surprised when it happens. And guess what? Like, basically, since that tier list, they haven't lost. They haven't lost since like December 14th.
Yeah, they won the minor and now the tournament.
Yeah, they were terrible before the minor. That's true. And then since that minor tournament where they won it, they've been awesome.
Yep.
I mean, Cell was awesome 1.11, Simp with a 1.07 on the weekend, Draws with a 1.04, and a BZ was at a 0.99. Every player in the team had their moments of stepping up,
Yep.
just clutches in S&D, Draza making huge plays in the finals. The team is incredible. Nothing more to say about him. I expect this team to continue. I think FaZe is going to win another event this year. I don't know what event. I don't know if it's multiple, but I think FaZe is probably
Yeah.
poised to win another event this year.
This is what we expected from them.
Yes, absolutely. However, I came out of this weekend even more optimistic of Thieves maybe than any team. Maybe not than FaZe, obviously, because they won, but I came out so optimistic about Thieves. And you know why that is?
Why is it? I think I know where you're going with this.
I mean, Scrap looked like himself again. Scrap was awesome this weekend. Ghosty played his role very well this weekend. Uh, Envoy was like MVP
Envoy.
level good this weekend. But the thing for me is Hydra did not play to his level that he can play of like superstar. He was very good
Yep.
this weekend. Hydra had a 1.12 in hardpoint. He was a really good player, but he wasn't like, you know what I mean? He was an awesome player, like a player that anybody would want on their team with the way he played this weekend, but he wasn't like Hydra level Hydra.
Yeah, I know what
Like
you're saying.
he wasn't like MVP level. So
And
if they
and
can go
that's kind of
game 7
scary
in
to
round
think about.
11, yeah, if they can go game 7 round 11 with FaZe and look as good as they did in hardpoint, and Hydra wasn't playing to his top level, imagine what they can do when Hydra hits that level.
Mhm.
This team has some scary potential. I mean, like, I don't necessarily know that Envoy is going to keep up what he did this weekend because I mean, like, he naturally is probably going to settle into a role where Hydra, picks up more of the slaying as the game goes on.
Yeah.
But Envoy, this was the best event from Envoy in quite some time. He was awesome. Ghosty was really good. Scrap was awesome. And like I said, Hydra was really good this weekend. Like the level that Hydra played at, if everybody else stays at their same level, they can win with Hydra playing at this level. But I don't know. Hydra hasn't hit that MVP level, and if the rest of the players can continue to play how they've been playing, and Hydra can find his MVP form, look out, league. Like this LA Thieves team,
It's gonna be
if
scary.
Hydra hits form in Major Two, my early prediction is Thieves win Major Two because they were this close to winning with Hydra not being at MVP. Like I said, he was at great form. He wasn't at his final form.
Yeah. It
But
just jeez. Yeah,
I mean, two
he had a
incredible teams.
1.06 on the weekend for the tournament, and EGs per tournaments are 1.1, 1.2, 1.1, high
Yeah.
1.1s.
And he's
So
been he's been pretty bad in S&D. Like Envoy was actually overall really bad S&D KD wise. He had a 0.71. Hydra had a 0.84 this weekend. Um, Envoy was really just really good in the respawns, and Hydra was pretty good in the respawns. But like both of them haven't really like found their groove. Ghosty had some awesome. I mean, he set the kill record on a red card. He was pretty good overall in search and destroy. Like awesome in search and destroy. The subs in this team struggled a little bit in S&D, and like I think they're going to pick that up. Like Envoy is historically a very good search player. Hydra is a pretty good search player as well. Like they're gonna figure this out, and when Hydra overall figures out everything and is really dropping numbers, like,
Look out.
weirdly enough, I think this team is, like, my favorite to win Major 2 still, because I
Yeah.
think Hydra is gonna figure it out, and this team is gonna be rolling. I mean, like, you can't even say it's crazy for them to be the favorite to win Major 2 because, like I said, it literally went down to a 1 round of S&D. Like, this conversation would be flipped. It'd be like, FaZe was awesome, they're so close, they could easily, win the next event. LA Thieves is the champions, but a round 11 went the way of FaZe. We know how round 11s are. They can be fluky. They're just like crazy. It's one round of search and destroy. Like, I mean, damn it, like Falcons have won enough search and destroys. They could win one random round off FaZe. You never know. Like,
Yeah. I will say it was good to see that, in the big moments, FaZe did prevail and win that round 11.
that was good to see. That's a great point. FaZe over the last, I mean, basically CDL era have historically struggled to close out series in the finals. They've really struggled to do that. And that's a good shout out from you. They were able to close this one out. That's a really good shout out.
Yep. Gaza went crazy both round 10 and round 11. He had,
Oh,
what, 3
that
round 10, and
yeah,
then First
that
Blood round 11.
and that play that he made, like to recognize the RC cars out, fly across catwalk, just take the risk, like assessing risk reward in that situation. And it's, the risk is, somebody's maybe hot tub, you don't have it cleared, or somebody's in a spot where they can like pick you off. He just says, nope, the RC's out. I have a chance. There's less eyes on the map right now. Fly through, hit it, and he gets a crazy 3-piece. Like Draza was making plays. He was awesome in that game 5.
Mhm.
And
Agreed.
Hydra makes a little bit of a mistake. I don't love the push, and he kind of caught himself in no man's land while the play was developing for his team. I don't love that, but once again, it's around 11. The play had worked before. Like, you can nitpick so many decisions, like because they didn't go a certain way, but at the end of the day, it's so tough in those high pressure moments. Like a round of S&D is just sometimes not going to go your way. Like LA
Yeah.
Thieves are still an awesome team at the end of the day, and them and FaZe are the two favorites to win the next major.
Agreed.
Everybody else is clearly behind these two teams right now, including OpTic. Everybody is behind these two teams. These are the top two teams far and away.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, Brock, that's it for the major. We have a little bit something different we're going to do to end this one off. It's coming up on the screen here. We're going to do CDL Wordle. Uh, who knows how long it'll be going because there's a limited amount of players they can use. But every week, I think it's going to be a new segment. If you guys like it, we're just going to do the CDL Wordle to end out the podcast. So let's get started, Brock. Who you want to make our first guess? This is obviously, for those of you watching, only CDL era players. You had to have been signed as like a backup or a starter on a roster. So like Nate Shot can't be a guess because he never was an active player in the CDL. So MW19 on. What do you want to use as our first guess, Brock?
Let's do a Major Maniac.
I love it. I can't wait. One time, what if we get this first? It's going to be funny. First guess. Okay. So he's from the US. He's older than 26.
Oh,
Didn't
he
play
had
for any
0
of these
rings.
teams. Wasn't teammates with Major. But so maybe a retired player, but he has more than 3 wins. So he's like a pretty notable player, but no ring. So it can't be like a Clay. Thinking of the older players. Can't I was gonna say Slasher, but he has a ring. A
Hmm.
guy I'm thinking is maybe I was gonna say Slacked, but he played for Florida.
Yes.
Should we guess Slack to see like closer to wins? Maybe. I know it's not Slacked.
Yeah, let's guess Slack.
I know it can't be him, but a guess to maybe narrow things down a little more. Okay, so the
Mm,
player has played for Seattle, is older than 27, so he has either 4 or 5 wins.
Man,
No rings. Played for Seattle. Could this be Lamar?
I think Lamar only has 2 wins still, doesn't he?
Well, no,
No,
he has
he
2 in World War II
he
alone.
he does he does
3.
have he does have 3. Is this
'Cause
Lamar?
it still, I think it still counts their wins because like Scump has like 29 or something on this. So it counts their wins pre-CDL, but it
Okay.
doesn't count their
Should we guess Lamar?
players that haven't played. I think it's Lamar. I think it's actually right. That would
I
be
think it's
poetic too if it's Lamar. It's
oh,
not Lamar. Whoa. Okay.
I literally typed in Lamar instead of actually in the word search.
uh I was actually pretty confident. He's older than Lamar, 5 wins, no rings, played for Seattle.
Leave for Seattle.
So it's gotta be like I'm trying to think of all the Seattle players. It's not Mac
Is it
doesn't have 5 wins.
oh, he's played for NYSL too?
No, it's not Green. He hasn't played for NYSL.
Oh.
Um, So it's
Unless
not like Mac or Pred because he wasn't teammates. Oh wait, Gunless isn't older than 28 though. And Gunless
yeah,
also played for Rocker. No,
he's 5 wins.
dude, who is this? He's old though. 5 wins. Who else was the older players in that OG like Seattle team? Like Apathy has a ring. Slack we already guessed. Karma has rings, obviously. Octane has a ring. This is bad right now, Brock. Why can't I think?
Who is? Was it? No, it's not.
Somebody that
I
was
was,
signed
I
as
was
a
gonna guess
sub.
Pristini is not it though.
But yeah, Prestinni has a ring. Accuracy has a ring. Huke has a ring.
He's old.
Booz is not from the US. What am I? Yeah, and he's not old either. Oh my god, I can't. Why? This is bad. I can't think. Was it somebody that was signed as a sub?
It's not 5 wins. That's a lot of wins for no rings.
Dude, why? This is bad. We're not. We don't have ball knowledge right now. My mind's blanking. The pressure's on. My mind's blanking. It's not.
He
Who's all
played.
the players? That are like
Played for
MW19. Who else did they have? Did they have somebody we're not thinking of?
MW19. I kind of have no
Yep.
clue who this is.
Octane, Apathy, Slack, Karma, and who was the other player on the roster? It might be
Wasn't
that
it?
player.
Wasn't it Karma?
He
But
wasn't teammates
Karma
with Slack. So yeah, I say Karma, but there's
is it
5 players.
Classic?
Ooh, wait. You might be right there. But was he teammates with Slack in the CDL era though? No, okay, it's not. He's old. He's older than 30,
He's older than 30.
and he played for.
It doesn't
He's.
count coaches, right?
I don't think it counts. Wait, but he was okay. So he was teammates with Classic. He has 5 wins, 0 rings, just like Classic. He played for Toronto and Seattle. Teammates with Classic, older than 30.
Nameless.
No, he didn't play in the CDL era.
That's right.
Players for Toronto though. He played for Toronto also. Is it? Oh, is it Looney?
It might be Looney.
Looney. He played for Seattle too. It's got to be Looney.
I think you're right.
Thank God it's Looney. We know a little bit of ball. That was painful though.
That was kind of hard. Not gonna lie. That would be easier.
I thought it was gonna be easier too.
And then
He's
I kept blanking when they kept saying these teams and different stuff like that.
well went from Major Maniac was like actually a solid first guess. We got the rings and like Slacked actually narrowed it down really well. Like we knew he played for Seattle, 0 rings, 4 or 5 wins, and then I was like confident it was accuracy. And then he wasn't a teammate with accuracy. And then when you said Classic, I thought that was it. And then I remember Looney being on Toronto and MW19. And Looney obviously is an older player too. He's been around for a long time, no rings, and he won enough in his career. And he had that.
I,
What was he? He had a little stint on Toronto in Cold War or Seattle in Cold War, right? Right. He played with like
uh,
Octane and
I thought it
like
was.
because they had like Prestinni, Octane, Classic,
I
Gunless.
thought he played for a rocker.
No, he coached. He coached for Rocker.
Oh yeah, I think he got dumped down by a guy on rocker.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he.
Yeah, he played for yeah.
I know he
I
played
think
for
you're
Toronto
right.
in the opening season, and then I think in the Cold War season when they were shuffling through players, I'm pretty sure at some point between like Prestinni, him, Octane, Gunless, I think there was a roster at one point of like Gunless, Octane, Looney, and Prestinni. I think was like the team at one point in Cold War.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, so that'll probably be a new segment. We'll probably do that. See if we can beat 5 tries next time. Looney was an interesting one. I've done it like a few times before where it's been like formal. Bose was one of them. Formal was a pretty easy one. Can't remember other ones that it was. At one time it was Dave Patty, your boy.
Dave Patty. He still got
Um,
sold in Vanguard.
Big Book Scope Skies.
That's how cracked he was.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably make that a new segment at the end of every episode. So stick around, see if you can beat us in terms of your number of guesses. As long as they keep putting it out, we'll just keep doing it. That's going to do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We'll see you next week, maybe with a player tier list, probably with predictions. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.